Thanks for staying. Welcome back. Now, the National Tax Campaign has been launched in Accra by the Ghana Revenue Authority under the theme Our Taxes, Our Future. The GRA says its target to increase the current tax to GDP ratio of 16% from 16% to 20% in the next 4 years. According to the Acting Commissioner General, Emmanuel Kofinti, this is to be achieved by a growth of 1% every year. Meanwhile, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, is demanding government cracks the whip on public officers found culpable of embezzling state funds. According to the union, such corrupt practices are not only unfair to taxpayers, but also defeat the agenda to boost the country's tax revenues for economic growth. The president, Burma Dr. Ameri, was speaking at the launch of the National Tax Campaign aimed at boosting voluntary tax compliance.
Taxpayers pay for effective running of all state institutions and will be very unfair to abandon the taxpayer again and kill his or her business. The most appalling, let me state, aspect of it all, which is difficult to understand, is the way and manner the money being dissipated, the taxpayers' money being dissipated with reckless abandon by some public, political, and civil servant, and in some cases misapply and misappropriate the funds without any serious effort by the government to pursue the perpetrators of this crime or looters of our tax money, prosecute them, and retrieve all the amount with interest from the day of the commission of the crime. This is the best way to protect public coffers from activities of mischievous or miscreant in society.
Now, Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta has also been explaining the country's current tax regime as part of efforts to fund the free SHS program. According to him, the campaign is geared towards amassing funds to support social interventions.
The question becomes, what am I doing with regards to whether I'm paying taxes? I'm sure if I were to take a survey here and ask how many people have ever filed their taxes, a lot of us will be found wanting. But we do get on platforms and talk about what government is not doing and what customs is not doing. So for me, in the coming months and especially next year, is for us to begin to dialogue on that. We look at our distribution of our revenue, and we are nearing 38 to 40% of the revenue that we collect, that GRA collects, to be used as salaries and wages. And it sounds okay, maybe, but that's 650,000 people out of 25 million people who are taking that amount of money. But at the same time, it's not that the wages are, great, and therefore you can say you're going to cut them down. But there are certainly some efficiencies that we can have in the system. But going beyond that then is when a country like ours is about 16% to GDP with regards to tax revenue that we collect, and countries maybe poorer than ours or peer are doing about 20 to 25%. Clearly, we ourselves are also not doing well.
Now, the country has recorded one of its biggest drops in the latest World Bank Ease of Doing Business report. The data showed that Ghana went down by 12 places to reach 120th position. But what resulted in this decline, and what can be done to improve the situation? George Wiafe has more.
The 2018 World Bank Doing Business report looks at how governments around 190 economies have made it easier for firms in their respective countries to start business. This year's reports track reforms, data and business regulations in these countries between June 2016 and June 2017. It assesses countries based on 11 indicators such as starting a business, access to credit, registering a property, access to electricity, paying taxes, protecting minority investors, trading across borders, enforcement of contracts, and resolving insolvency. Data showed that Ghana actually dropped in most indicators that the World Bank looked at in assessing how regulators have improved the environment, especially for small firms to start business. For instance, when it came to enforcement of contracts, Ghana dropped from 114 to 116. It also dropped from 111 to 116 when it comes to people paying their taxes. Despite this challenge, Ghana was, however, credited for increasing the transparency of dealing with contract permits by publishing regulations related to construction online. Even though the decline was marginal in terms of the overall score, strides made by other countries impacted on Ghana's performance. Ghana also performed better than its peers in the West Africa region, like Ivory Coast and Nigeria. Some analysts have argued the development showed that government may have to up its game in terms of doing more to improve the business environment. However, sources close to government have argued the period that the assessment was done didn't capture most of the reforms that this administration is undertaking, and they are hopeful the results will be seen in next year's ranking.
Let's now bring to you highlights of the details of the World Bank Ease of Doing Business report for some selected countries. Meanwhile, Chief Economist at the World Bank, Kaushik Basu, says these rankings should influence government's policy going forward. You're still on Joy News, and this is the marketplace, still related to issues of ease of doing business. And doing business in Ghana could be challenging, but one physically challenged person is bracing the odds to make a living from the sale of coconuts. Joy Business followed the story of Emmanuel, who sells coconut on the streets of Accra, and how the Ghana Federation for the Disabled is working to improve the livelihood of its members.
When you're weak, I'll be strong. When you let go, I'll hold on.
Owning a business or getting a job can be a challenge for anyone. But there are many more difficulties with starting a business or maintaining a job when you are disabled. Emmanuel has been wheelchair bound for as long as he can recall, but he operates his own coconut selling business.
Oh,
I started from my village where I produced coconut oil, but at a point in time, I wasn't getting the type I needed for production. So I started distributing the fleshy part to people who were selling coconut. They began mishandling my money, which I didn't like. It took quite a time to get my returns. I decided to look for a place to begin the coconut selling all by myself.
mesti na maton kakra kakra.
What the cancer took from her. She just wants to feel like a woman.
Kwa nimu sabi
My revenue is doing well. It's not enough, but I am okay. At the end of the month, I am able to make about 300 Ghana cedis. It may not be enough, but I am comfortable with what I have.
ene Ghana bi de me account account.
In addition to normal business expenses, Emmanuel explains he experiences other hardships due to his disability.
Adechia me sorry ahamache 4 a.m. and I'm call market kofa kudi.
I wake up around 4 a.m. to get to the market for the coconuts. I always struggle with my competitors. They underestimate me because I'm in a wheelchair, but I try to get a little. The drivers also don't treat me well because I am in a wheelchair. I sometimes stand at the roadside for an hour without a car. I get help from my wife in setting up the place.
Tax exemptions on business are one of the laws pertaining to disabled persons in business. But whether these laws work in Ghana is the question we ask. Often, people with disabilities are underrepresented in the world of entrepreneurship and usually experience a high unemployment rate. The 2010 population and housing census puts the population of disabled persons at 15 to 20%, and 3% of them are severe conditions. That explains that over 15% are able to fit within the working category, but the statistics don't reflect.
Business environment for persons with disabilities, as you put it, is not quite challenging. Quite challenging could mean that it's mildly challenging. So attracting relevant customers to promote the individual's business becomes a problem. In addition to that, persons with disabilities who even have members of society patronizing their businesses, in some cases do suffer one form of abuse or the other. People seeking to take advantage of the individual because of their disability, or people simply disrespecting the individual in relation to the business they are doing simply because of their disability. In some other cases, because of the nature of the individual's disability, some cases they are cheated by members of the society or relevant service providers.
However, there are a number of government incentives and programs for people with disabilities engaged in business. For example, the Ghana Disability Act Section 10 has provision for employers of disabled persons as well as disabled persons engaged in businesses. Dennis Darcy is Executive Secretary for the Ghana Council of the Disabled.
Like all Ghanaians who work, there are laws which protect persons who do businesses in Ghana. So they are covered by those laws. But for persons with disability, because of their uniqueness, some of these laws specifically make mention of protection for persons with disability. So for example, if you take the Labour Act, you realize that certain sections, Part 5 of the Labour Act, 45 downwards, specifically makes mention of certain incentives and protection to be given to persons with disability who are in employment. Then if you take the Disability Act, Section 10 of the Disability Act also has provisions which protect persons with disability in business. So there are laws which protect them.
But is this truly the case? Does the law really consider all persons with disability who are into business? Alex Bankole Williams is the spokesperson for the Federation of Disabled Persons and expresses his frustration about the act.
The Persons with Disabilities Act of Ghana 2006 is one such law, and specifically Section 10(2) of that law does indicate that government must give persons with disabilities who are engaged in business or enterprise special incentives.
Having a disability no longer needs to hold people back from starting a business. It is the core mandate of the Council of Disabled Persons to propose and evolve policies and strategies to enable persons with disability enter and participate in the mainstream of the national development process. In this 21st century, more than ever, it has become critical for the Council to get more disabled persons in business to achieve this mandate.
When you're weak, I'll be strong.
Let's now turn our attention to the energy sector, where government is considering the abrogation of the controversial $510 million Ameri power deal with the Energy Ministry, considering a wide range of options available to them. According to the Sector Minister, Boakye Jarko, the deal in its current form is not in the best interest of the country and as such should be terminated to enable the country save huge sums of money. Mr. Jarko adduced evidence to back his claims, saying the state was better off without the deal. He was appearing before the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament.
Both parties can consent to set aside the agreement for renegotiation. That's an option. We could push the case for an annulment based on the establishment of fraud, malfeasance, or any such untoward behavior for an annulment. Or we could push for an abrogation that would incur some liabilities. We are examining all of them in terms of financial impact. It may well be that given the situation as we find it, we may be better off abrogating than letting it run. We will run the numbers and make a financial decision based on that. The corollary example I give is that when we review the PPAs, the power purchase agreements, we found out that, for example, if we abrogate the pool that we intend to, the cost may be about $580 million. But if we leave them to run as is, per annum, the cost of capacity charge for treating this as business as usual is $680 million for 13 years. So in that financial calculation, 1 year of excess capacity cancels the payment, the liabilities of abrogation.
Meanwhile, Boakye Jarko has also accused the previous administration of not doing enough due diligence before procuring the plans.
My former profession teaches me that it is your responsibility as government to do a thorough due diligence in terms of, one, your counterparty's ability to stand up and satisfy the representations and warranties they make. It is your responsibility to investigate that matter. As far as I'm concerned, I do not think or have anything to the contrary that a thorough due diligence was done on the Ameri group itself to estimate their expertise, to estimate their ability to deliver and stand up to the reps and warranties and the covenants that they made. The due diligence that I am aware of was not done on Ameri. It was rather done on APR. And so once APR stepped out of the equation, it was incumbent upon government to go back and do full due diligence.
And that was Energy Minister Boakye Jarko. Now, local financial services provider Bayport Financial Services has merged with CFC Savings and Loans to operate now as Bayport Savings and Loans PLC. This is to enable the newly formed company to provide better services to their customers. Managing Director of the company, Kufiedu Mensah, confirmed they have the final approval from the Bank of Ghana.
Two businesses began 18 months ago when the shareholders of both businesses decided that combining the resources of Bayport and CFC would enable us to better serve our customers. The two merged companies have the same majority shareholder, Bayport Management Limited, based in Mauritius, and both have been competing against each other by offering largely similar products to the same target market. Having gone through all the necessary stages and processes typical of a merger of this nature, we have finally received Bank of Ghana's approval to consummate the merger. The approval was followed by a final license authorizing us to operate as a savings and loans company. Your new Bayport Savings and Loans Limited is in a better position to offer you more products and services beyond our traditional payroll loan products that the Ghanaian public sector worker has become so familiar with. We assure you that we will maintain and seek to better our delivery speed, convenience, and quality of service our cherished customers have enjoyed over the last 15 years. We have created a business that now has 52 branches across the nation. We have branches in every region of Ghana, including cities, towns, and rural communities where traditional banking services may not be easily accessible.
This is the marketplace. We're taking a breather here. We'll be right back after this. Right now, players in the banking industry are calling on government to put in measures in place to reduce high treasury bill rates. They say this will encourage deposits at the banks instead of investments in securities. High treasury bill rates in 2016 negatively affected deposits as customers preferred security returns to interest on deposits. Prince Appiah has more in this report.
Entrepreneurship Rural Bank's performance after the 2016 financial year saw profit before tax of over 1.3 million Ghana cedis, but fell after deduction of corporate tax of 25% to 896,000 Ghana cedis. High treasury bill rates in the 2016 financial year negatively affected deposits as customers preferred security returns to interest on deposits. Despite a 15.54% growth in deposits over the period, officials say the situation took a toll on bank profits and loan advances. Noble Issa Mokhtari is General Manager of Entrepreneurship Rural Bank.
You know, somewhere along the line, the T-bills rate was going up. So most people found it more lucrative investing in the T-bill, which is very secured, than to bring your money to the bank. At the end of the day, will pay you an interest rate less than the T-bills rate. Definitely, we cannot pay interest on our deposit up to that tune. So if we are paying less than the T-bills, naturally, it is wise for any person to want to invest in the treasuries instead of, and that's how the effect has come. So all the deposits that ought to have come to us have now moved to the securities.
Mr. Mokhtari spoke to Law Business at the bank's 33rd annual general meeting held at Twanse. Mr. Mokhtari spoke to Law Business at the bank's 33rd annual general meeting held in Twanse. He believes it will be good for government to make treasury bills unattractive to enable rural banks in particular to attract deposits.
And that will be it for the marketplace this afternoon. Many thanks for watching. Do join us again on Joy News Channel for more business on Business Live later tonight. My name is Emmanuel Abuachi. Have a good afternoon.